Hi, I'm Chuck. Thank you for watching. I had all the cameras and everything set up in the kitchen, and then my wife found out I was planning on cutting up some cayennes and doing some cooking, and she told me to get out of the kitchen. And I said, but honey, it's 95 degrees outside. She says, get out of the kitchen. Now, I'm not foolish. I know I can never have her tell me to do something 3 times or I'll pay the price for it. So we're outside of my garage right now, and fortunately we're kind of out of the sun, so we're going to be okay that way. I know that there's a lot of really good videos out there on cayenne pepper sauce, and I'm going to throw mine into the mix. I've got a couple little things that I add to some different formulas and variations of mine. I'd like to show you one of my favorite ones, and it's a quick video. It only takes 3 or 4 minutes, and we're going to start off with by cutting the cayennes. We'll take most but not all of the seeds out. We'll mix them with some vinegar, some water, a couple other little things. So let me get let me get going rather, and we'll make it happen right now here. So anyway, we're going to take off the crown as close as we can because we don't want to waste it. We'll slice it right down, and I know if you've watched my other videos, you've heard me say this when it comes to these hot peppers, but make sure that you're wearing gloves. Now my plan is not to necessarily worry about getting 100% of the seeds. I'm going to kind of go with 95. So I'll scrape these all out for the most part, but like I said, I'm not too worked up about it. I think a little seed visually adds a little bit to the sauce, and there won't be enough that I don't think it's really going to affect the harshness of the flavor or anything. I'll be right back in a little bit. And thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. I think you're going to like the way the sauce turns out. So I have to confess, I did go inside to clean these out. The final result was 104 cayenne peppers with a total cleaned weight of 8 ounces. So we'll start off by adding 4 cups of white distilled vinegar and 1/4 cup of water. The water's kind of just my own personal quirk. I learned it from a guy named Shorty. Must be doing things right because I don't see any bubbling or smoke coming out of the cauldron yet. I'm going to add a tablespoon of lime juice. I kind of like it, but I think this is something that you can experiment with, either add something or not add anything, just depending upon what you like. I'm also going to cut up a small yellow bell pepper. I think it adds just a bit of sweetness. We'll put everything into the pot, and then we'll add a tablespoon of salt and put her on the fire. We bring everything up to a boil, and then we'll let it simmer for about 15 minutes. Why, yes, I am old and sometimes forgetful, but fortunately in this case, there's no harm done. I forgot to add the 4 cloves of garlic. But I just turned it down to a simmer, so I can do that. Get it going. And I just gave it a bit of a brief cut. Once again, there's no need to mince it or anything because it's going to go into the machine in about 10 minutes. So it's been simmering for about 15 minutes, and I've turned the heat off so that we can allow it to cool for another 10 to 15 minutes before we put it into the blender and make our sauce. Once the sauce is cooled, I'll take it off the stove and pour all of the ingredients into the blender. That's it, puree. Even though I look a bit goofy here, I left this scene in the final edit as a teaching moment just to demonstrate that you need to be able to make sure that that strainer fits completely into the container you're pouring the product out of the blender into. You'll need a rubber scraper and a little bit of patience to work all of the liquid through the pulp into the bowl. It'll take a few minutes to slowly work the liquid out of the strainer. And when you're done, you can keep the pulp that's left over, put it into a dehydrator, and use that for additional heat and some different recipes. Once I get all of the sauce out of the strainer that I'm going to be able to, I'll transfer the product from my Corning Rare into a small measuring cup, and I'll use that to transfer the product into my storage bottles. I got these little 5-ounce bottles from Amazon at the beginning of the year, but you can use any container, including mason jars, and certainly reuse your commercial bottles as well. Not too bad. I'll use the short bottle for today's buffalo chicken, and I'll put the others in the refrigerator for storage up to 2 or 3 months. It really was 95 degrees outside. This is my little setup where I did all of the recording for this particular video.